Hey guys, welcome to yet another episode of my channel. Today we are talking about the Sonos Arc Ultimate system, except that it is no longer using the Sonos Fives as a surround, but using the Sonos Play ones as a surround. So does it sound as good when it's put in a dual sub setup? Because as of Sonos S2 12.2.2, Sonos has already allowed us to put dual sub setup in the home theater setup. So in my last episode, what I did was I paired up a $3,200 setup with a Sonos Arc, dual subs, and two Sonos Fives as a surround. But will two Sonos Play ones sound as good as that? So let's find out in today's episode. So as customary in my channel, I like to give you the answer up front. The sound is great. In fact, you will not be missing much by changing out the Sonos Fives in my previous configuration to a pair of Sonos Play ones. These are the Sonos Play ones that I have in front of here. They're not even the Sonos ones. The sound difference between the Sonos One and the Play one is slight. I've done a video on that before, so if you are interested, check out the link up here above. Otherwise, you can just take it that the sound as surround channels, the Play ones and the Sonos ones, or the Sonos One SL is going to be pretty similar. Now, in terms of setup, with the dual sub, it is going to make up for any deficiency in the sound when you have the Sonos Play ones or the ones as opposed to the Sonos Fives. Now, I won't be talking a lot in today's channel. Most important, what I want to show you is the sound demo of an ALMOST sound clip from Dolby Labs on how they sound when the Sonos Arc is playing on its own, Sonos Arc is playing with one sub, Sonos Arc is playing with the pair of Sonos Play ones, as well as all combined, and lastly, the Sonos Arc with the Play ones and a dual sub setup. And then you can tell for yourself how it sounds. But in today's episode, I have also prepared a rundown of all the frequency sweeps that I've done using the various configuration. And well, let's get to that now. I'll move the display to the screen there so you can take a better look for yourself. Okay, and here goes. So first up, this is the frequency sweep of the Sonos Arc on its own. Bear in mind that my recording mic was actually set here. This is the mic that was used for the measurement. It's all very close, but it's to simulate the kind of response you're going to be hearing. It's not actually what I'm hearing, but it will give you a better estimate rather than to hear the effects of the whole room. That's why I'm placing everything so close. So this is the Sonos Arc on its own. Usually I like to flatten it out a little bit so that you can see things better. Yep. Okay, so the Sonos Arc on its own, as you can see, relatively flat, above 1 kHz, above 1.5 kHz. There's a dip throughout and before it gains the volume up again at about 10 kHz or so. But otherwise, low frequency, 50, 55 Hz or so, it peaks out, and that's what it can do. Now, when you compare this, when you add a pair of the Sonos Play ones, the rate curve, you can see that throughout the entire range, the frequency has been bumped up quite significantly all throughout. So even from 1 kHz all the way up to 10 kHz, the rate curve with the Sonos Play ones is already sounding a lot better. And even the lower frequency, the human speech frequency, is actually doing better. And surprisingly, even at the lower end, the sound response is better. Now, this is probably because the whole setup here, you are actually getting sounds. You're getting combined output from the surround channel as well. So what if we take out the Sonos Play ones and add in the Sonos Sub Gen 3? Okay, so this is the curve that we are looking at. So the green curve is the Sonos Arc with the Sonos Sub Gen 3. You can see that the base frequencies below 80 Hz, below 70 Hz has been boosted significantly. So the rest of the frequency range probably not doing as well. Well, it's doing better than the Arc on its own. That's because the Arc doesn't have to handle the base frequencies anymore. So it can allocate more of its amplification to the higher frequencies, as you can see. But as compared to the Sonos Arc with the Play ones as a surround, the higher frequencies aren't doing as well in this configuration. So what is ideal is, of course, if you have the Sonos Arc with the Play Ones as the surrounds and the Sub Gen 3. So that will give you this particular curve here in blue. You can see that throughout the whole frequency range, it is going to benefit from higher output. Now, this setup for most intents and purposes is actually going to be doing pretty well for most people, right? You get a great bass response, you'll get great surround sound effects, and if you have not heard surround, I suggest do add a pair of the surround sound, even if you are not going to want to spend as much on the Sonos ones or the Play ones. You can even spend just $99, well, $198 for a pair of the IKEA Symphonics bookshelf, and they will still perform their job as a surround speaker. So the ultimate setup that we're going to be talking about today is the Sonos Arc with a pair of Play ones and dual sub. It's a Sub Gen 3 and a Sub Gen 2, which is placed, well, right in front, flanking the Sonos Arc. And it's represented by the purple curve. So you can see that most of the benefits of enhanced response throughout the entire curve is actually retained, and on top of that, the bass boost all the way up to 90 Hertz is taken up another notch. So this increment is pretty amazing, although not as much as if you are just adding the first sub in the first place. Adding the second sub does improve the sound quite substantially. So I hope those frequency response curves, those sweeps, actually does give you a little bit more insight on how this whole setup would sound like. Now, if you're not very familiar on how to read those sweeps, that's why I go through and I talk you through those a little bit. If you enjoy these kind of things, and if you like my objective take on how these kind of systems sound, do consider subscribing to my channel. And if you have been following my channel, you will realize that I've changed my setup a little bit. Last week I did tell you that I was going to remodel the room slightly. So where I was previously filming at the cabinet, where I have limited space and my whole setup you can't see, then I've actually shifted my tables around. I've got a new desk, I've got a new chairs, I've actually moved quite a couple of things, even the lightings and all. It was a big move. It took more than a week, almost 2 weeks. I am more or less settled right now. I'm still just not very happy with the slight flicker on the projector screen, but I hope you don't mind it. I will get better as I get along. So for the rest of today's video, I would like to just let you listen to the various configurations. I will first start off with the Sonos Arc on its own. I'll move on to the Sonos Arc with the surround sound, and then the Sonos Arc with the Sub Gen 3 on its own, and then I'll move on to the Sonos Arc with the Play ones as a surround and the Sub Gen 3 as the subwoofer. So for most people at this point in time, the configuration is there, but I know a lot of you are scratching the itch on whether you want to upgrade to the second subwoofer or not. I've done so many videos, and a lot of you have asked for sound demos on how it sounds like. So today, this demo is it. The final segment of the demo is actually the Sonos Arc with the Play ones as a surround and a pair of the Sonos subs. One is a Gen 2 and one is a Gen 3. And you'll hear for yourself the kind of impact and the kind of power that you're going to be getting from that particular setup.
This is Dolby Atmos, the world's first object-based cinematic audio. With powerful moving audio that transcends from channels to moving around you with pinpoint accuracy. Whether the soundscape sets the mood of a scene, or captures the full extent
Do you want to know my secret?
of nature's fury. This is Dolby Atmos, the world's first object-based cinematic audio. With powerful moving audio that transcends from channels to moving around you with pinpoint accuracy. Whether the soundscape sets the mood of a scene,
Pull your vehicle to the side of the road.
Whoa! What is this place?
Come on, you guys, let's go.
or captures the full extent
Do you want to know my secret?
of nature's fury. This is Dolby Atmos, the world's first object-based cinematic audio. With powerful moving audio that transcends from channels to moving around you with pinpoint accuracy. Whether the soundscape sets the mood of a scene,
Pull your vehicle to the side of the road.
What is this place?
Come on, you guys, let's go.
or captures the full extent
Do you want to know my secret?
of nature's fury. This is Dolby Atmos, the world's first object-based cinematic audio. With powerful moving audio that transcends from channels to moving around you with pinpoint accuracy. Whether the soundscape sets the mood of a scene,
Pull your vehicle to the side of the road.
What is this place?
Come on, you guys, let's go.
or captures the full extent
Do you want to know my secret?
of nature's fury. This is Dolby Atmos, the world's first object-based cinematic audio. With powerful moving audio that transcends from channels to moving around you with pinpoint accuracy. Whether the soundscape sets the mood of a scene,
Pull your vehicle to the side of the road.
Whoa! What is this place?
Come on, you guys, let's go.
or captures the full extent
Do you want to know my secret?
of nature's fury.
So I hope you have found today's video useful. If you have, do consider dropping me a contribution to my coffee fund. I'm going to be putting up my QR code. I think I'm going to be putting up, okay, here. Well, this setup is slightly different, so I don't actually know where I'm going to be pointing now, but about here, okay? So this QR code, if you scan it with your mobile, it will bring you to my Patreon account. And my Patreon account, you can make a small contribution to my coffee fund if my videos have proven useful and helpful for you. I like to think that I'm doing a better job than a Sonos salesman at Costco or Best Buy. If you like the kind of videos that I'm making and the kind of objectiveness I lend to my videos, do consider subscribing to my channel, leave a like or leave a comment on this video. It will already help my channel greatly. So I'll see you in my next video.